I finally had the time to let my technology work and upload some of my videos of what we've been doing the last few days. I think the thing I've been thinking about the most is being able to persevere even when things are not going your way. I started this adventure, let's say, where I've been creating cosplay specifically for mermaids, dragons, and sea creatures. This is all basically related to the original characters that I want to create. Oh, and fairies, of course. Fairies and fairy pirates, etc. Um, but this is so much more difficult than it looks. There is so many materials, so many things to learn, chemistry, even biology, some things that are good for your skin, not so good for your skin, fine to inhale and not so fine to inhale, and then learning how to mix all these different ingredients together so that I can create what I really, really envision. And you'll see in the end of this video the base of what I've been working on. It is actually just the start, barely with any detail. It's been quite the journey. I thought that because I had my plans, that is, I've drawn out everything to minute details, including measurements, angles, and measuring the mass and the weight of each object, each ingredient. And I found that even with all my plans, the thing that I envisioned would take longer than I expected. When I originally started this piece, I thought maybe I would make it smooth and perfect the way everyone else has made theirs. I wanted it to look like something that other people would want to see on social media and in real life. As I was trying to make it into something more appealing, I realized one, I actually liked the muddy look. It looked more wild, it looked more natural than a smooth look. And two, I realized that no matter how much I was going to try to force this to be smooth, it wasn't going to happen in the time that I wanted it to. I would have to completely restart and do little by little. Both ways I learned a lesson. That is, with clay, you do things little by little, you perfect things as you go. You don't do things all at once and then perfect them afterwards, which is a vast difference versus something like acrylic or watercolor, where I can do my base in one color in one go, and the layers that come afterwards will be the ones that are shown, so it doesn't really matter what's underneath. But with the clay, I would have to just add more clay on top, and that would be a huge waste. I got my clay, I got my body form, put everything together, and I measured out different pieces of my clay to make sure that they go on the body form correctly, and gathered all my tools, which some of these, by the way, I made by myself. That one that's wrapped in black is actually an old guitar string that I used to balance out the clay and smooth out some areas and details. The rest are all pretty typical, and then there's Bambino, of course. I realized as I was making the clay on the body form, that I would have to make a mold of this clay, and I was deciding whether or not to keep the curves that were created from my body form, that is, of the chest, the belly, and the hips. But I decided I'm going to keep this flat and see how the mold comes out. And then from the mold, I will pour in my silicone and see if that is flexible enough for me to use as a top. These pieces here I used as the inner parts of my sculpt for my sea creatures, simply because I didn't want to use a lot of clay, so these kind of help to make a larger body form for each of my creatures, including my giant stingray, which I actually adjusted a little bit because I realized it was much too high and this would be extremely heavy once I have silicone inside. So I actually made it about 1/3 the height that it is in this video. You will see in next week's video how this eventually turns out, but I'm hoping that eventually I have a little bit of courage to create my molds and then to use the silicone. But I think the one thing that I'm afraid of is messing up. And it's because these things are so temperamental, so we have to be very, very careful. Nonetheless, I have hope I can do this. So I am currently editing this video. Ta-da! And um, I realized I was unable to upload my stuff on Wednesday simply because technology didn't want to work for me, so it is what it is. I I think I'm on number 50 actually. Let me just double check that, because if I am, then woohoo. Or maybe I passed it already. I think I forgot. But I had this goal to, at this, not the start of the year, in November, I guess, when I started doing this, I had this goal to create 50 videos because I thought if I did that, that would be basically a year of doing YouTube. But I don't think. Whoa, it's so bright. Oh my god. Blinded by the light. This is 47. Oh no, so I'm not there yet. Ooh, 2 weeks. So in 2 weeks, I will have completed 50 videos. So that's a crazy milestone for me. Simply because doing this has been a mix of emotions, sometimes tiring, sometimes a lot of fun, sometimes it's been so easy I didn't really have to think about it. But holy moly, wow, that's good. I'm currently working on these body forms and things like that. Um, but it is not easy, y'all. I see how people do it on YouTube and even taking these workshops and things like that. And when people do it who've done it for many years, like it's so encouraging because I'm like, oh yeah, I can do that. Like I can be awesome at that. And then I do it and I'm like, this is hard. It's tiring. It's frustrating. But at the same time, it keeps my focus pretty nicely and I feel very relaxed while I'm doing it. So I don't know, like it's like this bittersweet piece of art. And something about me is I've hated pottery since I was a kid. I never wanted to mold anything, but mostly because anytime I had to do pottery or molding, it had to do with pottery. So I was like, I don't care about making pots and vases and cups and mugs and bowls. Like, I don't care at all. Um, like, you do it once and, like, that's cool. I can use it, I can eat out of it. But I don't want to do this for my art and stuff. But when I found out I can mold things and then wear the things that I mold, I was like, I I have to get on board with this because I've always wanted to make my own original characters, and this is something that I have to learn in order to do that. So it hasn't been as bad as I thought. It just takes hours and hours. You know, that little piece of video, I'm going to show you this little piece of video right here, this clip. It's like 3 seconds. You see these little pieces? That took me all day yesterday to do. Taking into consideration, I was not feeling well yesterday. Plus, with my back not being that great, it can be very frustrating. I don't have things ergonomically well set up. I think I've mentioned this in some other videos. So, that aside, that little thing, it's about this large. The whole thing is about this large. With those tiny little pieces in those tiny little shapes, that took me all day, starting from 5:30 a.m. I wouldn't recommend unless you're actually really gung-ho about doing this stuff, really passionate about doing it. So all I know is, in the end, I'm hoping it's worth it and that it all works out. That's all I gotta say. I'm wishing you guys one room to be yourself from this side of the world. Adios.